All right, let's get into it. I'm going to go ahead and give you my review from Led Zeppelin's Becoming Led Zeppelin documentary. We saw it last night at the IMAX Theater in New Orleans, Louisiana. My wife, myself, and we took our 12-year-old son along so he could learn a little bit of the beginning history of Led Zeppelin. Here are my takeaways from the movie. There is a section in the movie where John Paul Jones talks about being in love with John Bonham's bass drum, and he purposely left out notes to let John Bonham's bass drum come through the mixes. So that's a very important thing to notice, especially if you're listening to the music. It's very cool to know now that some of those notes that he left out were on purpose, just so John Bonham's bass drum could bleed through the mix and you can really get the full effect of what he was doing behind the drum kit. So that was totally awesome to hear that. And being a musician, I totally get it. You know, you're feeding off of one another and you're listening to what the other guy is doing and what is actually going to work best for the music and the song. The beginning of the movie, I'd say the first hour, is really triggered and based on their upcomings and their upbringings post World War II society. It brings in a little bit of politics into it, not, like their personal beliefs, but it just kind of shows what the world was going through at the time. Some Woodstock photos, a lot of the hippie movement. It really takes you back to Robert Plant and all of the members, what they were influenced by. It gives performances by Little Richard, Sonny Boy Williamson, and other artists. So, like I said, the first hour of the movie is really based on their upbringings. Robert Plant was actually homeless for a period of time, and I did not know that. And I'm a huge Zeppelin fan. I thought I knew just about everything about them, but that was the one thing that I could honestly say that I did not know, that Robert Plant was pretty much homeless at the time that he started recording with Jimmy Page and getting together with him, so they could see if they had any kind of mutual relationship that they could work together. Robert Plant had nowhere to go. It was basically his parents said, "You're going to follow the academic life as far as being an accountant or something, to that effect, or you kind of like out on your own." So he made the decision to leave home. So Robert Plant was on his own, doing his own thing. John Paul Jones, his parents both supported his decision. His parents came from a musical background, and they used to travel to different Air Force bases playing music, military bases. And John Paul Jones went along and he started performing with his parents. So he had a really wide variety of, music. He had a musical background to begin with, way before Zeppelin, way before even session work. It goes through Jimmy Page's sessions. A lot of us already know about a lot of Jimmy Page sessions. He also played on the Goldfinger soundtrack, James Bond. It takes you through a lot of those performances. It shows pictures of him in the studio. It shows videos of people who he worked with. It plays a lot of songs from his session work. John Bonham talks about him getting his first drum set when he was 10. It goes through a little bit about him. It has an interview with him that apparently was never heard before. I had never heard it before. I don't think anybody has. And it has the three guys sitting around in a room listening to John Bonham speak. And so that was pretty cool to listen to. It also shows a video of Vanilla Fudge, who Led Zeppelin toured with on their first tour of the United States. And it has a really cool clip of Carmine Appice doing his flips and twirling his sticks and everything. Carmine Appice or Carmine Appice, however you want to pronounce it. I know his brother pronounces his last name Appice. Maybe it's Carmine Appice. You go ahead and make that decision, but you know who I'm talking about. The famous drummer from Vanilla Fudge also played with Ozzy and Blue Murder in the 1980s. It shows a really cool clip of him, a video of Vanilla Fudge, and it talks about his relationship with John Bonham. They befriended one another through the tour, and they would sit back and watch each other perform and just kind of get ideas from one another and kind of like trade licks and everything. So that was a really cool thing to see. I already knew that him and Carmine were friends, but it was cool to actually put that clip in the movie, which shows you that it means a lot because that was probably a very important piece of John Bonham's upcoming through America, was meeting a guy like Carmine Appice and sharing a similar style of drumming. It shows a little bit of John Bonham's influences, Gene Krupa to be factual. It shows a video clip of Gene Krupa doing a drum solo, goes through that a little bit. So like I say, the first hour of the film is basically before Zeppelin even got together. The second half starts off obviously with them going on their first tour and recording the first album, and into Led Zeppelin 2 by the time the film is finished. Every single song from the first two albums is featured in this movie. Not in its entirety, but at some point you will hear a clip of every single song from the first two Led Zeppelin albums. They do full performances of some songs. Some of those are live. The first performance that they do is How Many More Times from Denmark, 1969, almost in its entirety. I want to say probably 75% of that song is shown. They do a live performance of What Is and What Should Never Be from the Royal Albert Hall in 1970. They do a live performance of Dazed and Confused from Super Show. There was a thing called Super Show in 1969. It doesn't say that on the film, but I know that's what it's from. From the second album, they play everything. Like I say, they do video clips of Sonny Boy Williamson, which was a big influence on Robert Plant. So it goes through the back history of those influences, like I mentioned. But every single song is played in almost in its entirety. Here are the songs that I remember in its entirety: Whole Lot of Love, almost all of Bring It On Home. It does a live performance of Communication Breakdown from Paris, 1969. That's in its entirety. Some of you guys might have seen these clips from the Led Zeppelin documentary that was released in 2003. I believe on the extra disc, it features performances from these same performances you'll see on the Becoming Led Zeppelin documentary. But it plays, like I say, there's a full studio version of Whole Lot of Love. It plays a little bit of Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. And this is not a complaint. I'm just saying that even though they do a lot of talking about the songs, they also play some of these songs in their entirety, which feels like the movie might drag on a little bit longer than it should. And that was actually the only complaint from my wife. She's like, I know you liked it, but for me, the songs, they played too many songs like in its entirety. And I get it. You got to sit through the whole song, and they'll show like a montage of videos and, clips and photos and stuff put together while the song is playing. But all of us have heard those songs before, but, that's part of it, I guess. Not really a complaint, just mentioning that they do play a lot of songs in its entirety. Probably, I would say, if I had to guess, I'd probably say 5 or 6 studio album versions were played in its entirety, and the rest would be live footage. They did show a little bit of live footage that I had never seen from the first time that they played Bath Festival in 1969. I think there was a little bit of bootleg audio added into that just to kind of match up with the video, with the video clips that they showed. But in its entirety, I'd have to say, out of 10 stars, I'd probably give it an 8.5 or a 9. And I'm going to say that hopefully there is more to this. Hopefully when they sat down and did these interviews, they did everything, like, waiting for a part 2 or part 3 to even come at some point in the future. And I say that because, let's face it, the remaining members of Led Zeppelin are not getting any younger. So, hopefully they're not waiting around another few years to do a part 2 or part 3. Hopefully they did all of this in one shot and it's just a matter of time before they release the second or the third part. It stops at the end of Led Zeppelin 2 while they are on tour. And the end quote from Jimmy Page is something about, follow your dreams, because this is what happens when your dreams come true and you follow your dreams. And then the movie ends. So that is my review of Led Zeppelin, Becoming Led Zeppelin. I thought it was fantastic. Go see it if you're a Led Zeppelin fan. You will completely enjoy this movie. If you're just somewhat of a Led Zeppelin fan and just are interested in seeing it, I think you'll enjoy it as well. Maybe not as much as a Die Hard, but maybe so. Like I say, it gives a lot of backstory. The first hour is just completely about their influences and their upbringings and kind of like what society was like in Birmingham, England. It also talks about, hearing music from America for the first time, because that kind of stuff started coming through the radio and they were pretty much seduced by American music, particularly black music. So go see the movie, Becoming Led Zeppelin. Check out this short clip that I added right after I stopped speaking. I hope y'all enjoyed the review. Keep rocking and stay safe.